Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. This take two of this Project Blue Book, Season 1, Episode 4, Operation Paperclip. I had a little technical difficulties there, and yeah, that's what happens. You have an old building and old cabling, and yeah, it's just a pain in the ass, really, is what's going on. So I'm going to wait a minute or so until people start trickling back in again. Sorry about that, guys. You have to listen to me all over again. So, yeah, it was a very big boom on that one. Good episode all the way around, though. And God, I mean, I was halfway through that thing, too. And yeah. Yeah, I actually restarted my modem, Felipe. So that's the reason why. I have a really old place here, and I'm pretty sure that the cabling inside the wall sucks balls. So I'm pretty sure that's the reason why. Yeah. So Jojo Graz, thanks. Sound better this time. No problem, man. Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure it's honestly the building. And unfortunately, I have no control over that. So it looks like we got a good amount of people here. So I'm going to start one more time. Spoiler alert. I am going to talk spoilers about this episode. If you haven't seen it, go and see it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down in the comment section. And again, this is Project Blue Book, Season 1, Episode 4, Operation Paperclip. Take 2. Exactly, Filthy. We start off with a commercial airplane flying with Hynek on board, and he is writing down some notes about basically an incident that happened in 1948, and we're now in 1952 at this point, about two pilots that saw what they described looked like a rocket, basically no wings and fire coming out of one end of the back end of it. So, and we hit a little turbulence, and Hynek smiles at the little girl across the aisle from him and tells her, "Don't worry, it's okay. It's nothing." And then the entire cabin's bathed in some green light, some weird, shitty kind of light. And he's like, "What the?" And he looks outside the window and sees this ball of light hovering next to the plane, and then kind of goes forward. And he runs forward into the towards the cockpit. And the pilot and the co-pilot said, "Yeah, this thing's following us. It's looking for something, or like it's, oh man." Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to keep going. So if it cuts out, it cuts out. If it doesn't, it doesn't at this point. So I'm not going to bother with this anymore. I'm just going to keep going straight on through. In the meantime, and for some, reason, they say this thing is following them. It dissolves back to him being in his office, and the town is practicing an air raid siren. It's kind of weird. It was kind of a weird dissolve and a weird transition to the scene, but I was okay with it. And his son's all gung-ho about this whole air raid thing because, he gets to use the shelter, and Hynek is telling his wife, "Well, plywood shelter is not going to help us if it's a direct blast of an atomic bomb." So, see you guys. Yep, I don't mind if you guys are going to bounce on out. I know it's kind of late for you guys on the East Coast, so no big deal. So we head on over to Gurley, Alabama, where Quinn and Hynek go to a farm, and the farmer says he's the only eyewitness of seeing this craft that was hovering over his farm. He thought he was going to die, but 20 of his hogs did. He did not. He survived. And Quinn asks if it looked like a rocket, and the farmer goes, "Yeah, it kind of did look like a rocket." And he goes, "Okay, thanks a lot," and he, "Thanks for your time," and he leaves. And Hynek's like, "What the case is still open." And Quinn tells him, "Over in Huntsville, Alabama, we've got a whole bunch of Nazis, former Nazis. Werner von Braun's group is working on the space program, or the space program is the cover. They're working on a rocket program, a V2 rocket program." And so they decide they're going to go over to Huntsville and take a look at Operation Paperclip, because that's what this is Operation Paperclip. And we get a little bit of, as they're leaving, we see two of the men in black as they're leaving the farm or sitting outside the farm, and they get in their car, and we don't know what happens, if they're following them, if they're going to the farm, or what's happening at this point. See you guys. Xenophonian filthy. Von Braun in the meantime is making this propaganda film about space flight. It's kind of a weird thing. If you ever actually get to see these things, they are out there. It's kind of like the old Walt Disney movies that he used to do in the 60s and the 70s. Kind of like that, only with Von Braun touting the space program and what they're going to do. And they're out. I think they're out there on YouTube. So if you can find them, take a look at them. They're a little bit on the weird side. And this is kind of a voiceover as Quinn and Hynek are driving through the town. The town is supposedly populated full of all these ex-German scientists or ex-Nazi scientists working on the V2 rocket program. And they get up to the base, and Quinn gives him his credentials, and they're like, "You're not allowed on the base." And he goes, "But I'm a captain in the Air Force, and this is an Air Force base." Like, sorry, the private says, I kind of think it's wrong too, that they're allowing Germans on the base, but not you. So Quinn decides to back up and bust through the gate. And of course, he gets stopped and they get captured at that point. Yes, we'll never talk about the other stream. Now let's never speak of it again. Joel, in the meantime, doesn't want to go to school because the older boys are picking on him. And of course, his mom, being the well-meaning person that she is, says, "Well, tell me who they are and I'll talk to them." And Joel's like, "Never mind." And he walks away and he goes to school. And Mimi sees the guy that's been stalking her, following her, and sees him across the street. And she goes and confronts him and goes, "What the hell are you doing? Why do you keep following me?" And he says, "I really need to speak to your husband. I need to speak to him urgently." And then he sees a car driving down the street and starts saying, well, his work is putting us all in danger. We're all in danger. And he runs away. So, yeah, that kind of freaks her out because she's not already been freaked out enough as it is by, Hynek telling her in the last episode, was the guy in a fedora and a trench coat that was following you? And she's like, "What are you talking about?" So Quinn and Hynek get to meet Von Braun, and Von Braun knows of Hynek and his work and has read his papers. And Quinn, of course, is being very condescending to Von Braun, calling him a Nazi pretty much to his face, and just really being disrespectful. And Von Braun actually kind of calls him on it, says, "If you're nice to me, I can give you a little more access to the base." He goes, "But I understand, where it's coming from." So he says, we got in touch with the air traffic control, so our rockets are no longer going to be interfering with any of commercial flights. And at that point, Quinn gets a phone call from back at the base, and he needs to take off. So he jumps in one of the Jeeps and heads back. And Hynek ends up questioning Von Braun about his rockets, if they can do any kind of horizontal hovering. And Von Braun answers it in a very vague, scientific way, thinking that he can throw Hynek off, and Hynek knows that he's full of shit, and that he knows exactly what he's talking about, and that he's covering it up. So he knows that Von Braun does probably have some ships that can hover at this point, but won't really say anything about it. And he gets back to the base, and Quinn basically tells him that Harding called. The case is closed. He's been suspended for breaking onto the base. Good luck. Go home now. Is what he tells him. And it's like, shit, really? They're already done with this already? Project Blue Book is closed? In the meantime, Mimi's pissed off. She's ripping through Alan's office, trying to search for anything that she can find, when the doorbell rings, and it's Susie. And, of course, Mimi had called her, telling her about the guy. And Mimi said that she had called the cops about 2 hours ago, and of course they didn't believe her. They didn't send anybody over. And so Mimi goes, "You know what? This is bullshit. Let's go over to the Air Force Base, and I'm going to tell, I'm going to find my husband, because I can't get a hold of him. I don't know where he's at. He's not answering his number because he hasn't checked into the hotel he's supposed to be in." And Susie keeps questioning her, like, "Well, what's going on? What is he working on?" And she finally tells Susie that he's investigating UFOs. And it's like, yeah, that's great. You just told the Russian spy what your husband's doing on a top secret project. Great. Yeah. Really good to do at that point. So Hynek goes back to the farm on foot, and he sees the farmer And he goes, hey, I have a couple more questions to ask you. And the farmer's like, no. I already told the other guys, like I told the other guys, I'm not going to say a word. You guys made me whole again. You gave me 20 hogs. I'm all good. I'm not going to say a word. And Heinek's like, what the? Okay. And so he walks away from that. And in the meantime, Susie ends up taking Mimi over to the Air Force Base. And she's being very obstinate with the woman that's behind the desk there and saying that, this woman is going to come home soon to her son. Her son's going to come home soon, and they're going to be unprotected. And she goes, and I'm feeling a little faint. I need to get some water. Where's the nearest washroom? And of course, she breaks into Quinn's office and starts taking pictures. Exactly. The hog happening. Slurmy. No, you just missed me having to restart. That's all you missed. So, yeah, so she's inside just taking pictures of Quinn's office, and yeah, just pretty bad at this point. So Hynek goes out to the farmer's field behind his farm there, and out in the grass he sees crop circles and starts taking pictures. It was a restart, Slurmy. Yes, it was. And then Hynek, of course, finds Quinn in the local bar getting drunk and decides to have a drink as well because, that's more than likely going to be their last huzzah, if you will. And yeah, I had to reboot. It's version 2.0 of this podcast, of this particular one. In more ways than one, but we're not going to get into that either. So Hynek tells Quinn about the crop circles and shows them the pictures that he's taken. And he starts talking about, because you know what parallax equations are? And Quinn's like, I've had way too much to drink. Don't try and give me all that science shit. And he says von Braun was working on an alternate fuel source for the Nazis. And he goes, he might be still working on this as well. I don't think he's working on anything, space race wise or anything like that. And Quinn, of course, stands up and tells him again, you might be the smartest dumb person I know. And he gets up and he's kind of pissed at this point because he goes, now you want to go back to the base like I wanted to do and search all this stuff. And he gets into a fight with the locals, which are Germans, of course. And starts a big, way long drawn out bar fight. There we go. So Hynek and Quinn get back into the base because, of course, they're arrested at this point. And the private is driving them in, who now Quinn had befriended him. And so, of course, he slips out of the cuffs. It's all been a big ruse. The whole fight was a ruse. He's not drunk to get back onto the base. Only Hynek was not supposed to be involved in this. So he's the outlying factor. And that's what he tells them. He goes, come on, let's go. We're going to go and search what's going on. I want to find out what he's got on in here. It's what they're talking about, von Braun. So, and then also Quinn tells Hynek about, the concentration camps, about the millions of people that he saw being starved and just kind of dumped into a pit. He never wants to see that again. And also he doesn't want to see rockets being used to, of course, take down planes and take out cities. That's his reasoning behind this. He's just very pissed that this is being allowed to happen on American soil or by anybody at this point. He figured that that's what they fought in the war for, was to stop all that. And yet it's still continuing. So, and I don't blame him. So Mimi decides that she's driving back with Susie, and Susie asks her if she can stay anyplace else. And Mimi decides she's going to go stay at her mother's with Joel, and she tells Susie about this, and then she goes in to go unpack, and she hears something, and she goes, Joel, is that you? And she goes, go and look, because Joel supposedly goes to the neighbors if mom isn't home when he gets back from school. So she goes to go take a look, and then we cut back over to Quinn and Hynek sneaking into a room, and they find a whole bunch of flight suits hanging. And they hear a hissing noise, like steam escaping. They go back to go investigate that. So switching back and forth between these two scenes here. So Mimi goes in the kitchen, and who does she run into but the stalker guys in her house? And he goes, and he basically doesn't believe that Alan lives there. He says he doesn't live there. He goes, you're just a plant kind of thing, and not a plant, but she's a fake person, is what he's trying to say. And he just wants to know the truth, and he thinks that Mimi has that truth. In the meantime, Hynek and Quinn go and see an alien floating in a tank with tubes leading out of its back. And Quinn, of course, says to Hynek, he goes, "It's not human, is it?" And Hynek starts taking pictures. A red light goes off, and we hear an alarm in the distance. And he's like, "Okay, we got to go." And they take off, and they start running. So we see Susie in her little photo lab there, developing film and developing pictures. And she flips on, she makes a little phone call. Her code name is Clover, and she's talking to Mikhail. And she flips on the radio that she has planted in Hynek's house, of course. And here's this conversation happening between Mimi and the weird guy. And he's trying to say that the aliens talk to him. They talk through a little box, and he's got this box that he's holding up. It looks like a little, like a big speaker in this little tiny box, and all you can hear is static. And Mimi's telling him, "I don't hear anything." And he says, well, the phone rings at that point, and we see that it's Alan actually calling from a payphone. And Quinn says, "Forget about it." He goes, "You can call her when you get to the airport." And tells him to hang up and let's go. And we cut back over, and the guy's saying that if she can't hear it, then she's part of the problem. And just as he's reaching for her to more than likely strangle her to death, in walks Susie with her gun and basically tells him to back away. And he throws this little speaker at her and runs out the door, saving Mimi's life at that point. In the meantime, the boys, Hynek and Quinn, have a car coming down the road at them, and they jump in the car like, "Holy shit, somebody's coming for us." And of course they get stopped, and outside the car come all the Germans. Yes, it wasn't Mikhail's Navy full of Russians. No, it was a bunch of Germans. So, and yeah, at that point it's von Braun and his guys, and von Braun basically tells them, Quinn's like, "So what the hell was up with the alien in the tank?" And von Braun's like, "That wasn't an alien." He goes, "That was a primate that we had sent into space, and now we're studying the effects of what space did to it. So it's a very valuable teaching tool." And Quinn, of course, is calling bullshit on it still, when Hynek steps in and goes, "Oh, you shot primates into space? That's really kind of cool." He's not being the dumb guy at this point. It's Quinn that's being the dumb guy. And of course that Hynek is trying to save his ass at this point. And von Braun says to Hynek, "Why don't you come over here? I want to talk to you for a second." And so they start talking a little bit more about von Braun knows that Hynek doesn't believe that that's a primate, that it's an alien. He knows that he's also got hovering spacecraft and all that kind of stuff. And he reiterates, and by the way, he had actually asked Hynek to come work with him, and reiterates again. He goes, "You should come work come work with us, because this is where you belong." And Hynek's like, "No, I don't think so." And he goes, and then von Braun says, "Well, the real reason I came over here was to tell you that I got a call about your wife." And he goes, "What about my wife?" And then we cut to black, of course, and another. And then we have Susie explaining away the gun to Mimi, that it was all because her and her husband got mugged in New York. So they bought the gun, but she won't allow it in the house. So she keeps it in the glove box of the car because, that's a safe place to keep a gun. And that's why she had the gun and why she was there. And it's like, yeah, okay. And I guess Mimi buys it, because Mimi at this point is kind of naive. In the meantime, we come back to the private in a flight suit at this point, and he doesn't want to, be part of this program, but he's being forced to. The private had said earlier to Quinn that a lot of his friends have disappeared from the base. They supposedly got fired and replaced by other people. So but he's never heard from them again. They just kind of disappeared. It was kind of a throwaway line. It was a blink and you miss it kind of thing. And now we know what happened is they're actually all been volunteered to pilot von Braun's spacecraft, and Harding's there as well. And Harding's like, yeah, okay, let's get this thing moving. Let's see what'll happen. And he goes, why did you want me to rehire Quinn? And von Braun says, because it'll avoid suspicion. If we fire him, it's going to just raise a lot more questions. He goes, just rehiring him and keeping him on and leading him where we want him to will be a lot better for us in the long run. So they put the private inside the experimental craft, and they light it up, and it hovers. And you start seeing these almost like invisible rings kind of thing that kind of phase in and out around the craft, like a gyroscope as it's hovering there. And all of a sudden, the ship winks out of existence, just whoosh, this big whoosh, and there's wind everywhere. And we see on the ground, burned into the ground of the flight deck there, the crop circle pattern. And Harding's like, what the hell happened? Did it disintegrate? Did it work? What's going on? And von Braun says it worked. So that's where we left off. Yeah, and it's like, holy crap. Very interesting. And yes, it is kind of like a timeless ship. And also this is the craft that we saw in the end of the first episode as well, as Harding and Valentine are walking towards the hangar. So that was the ship that we had seen them looking at. And I know a lot of people theorize, these UFOs, are they interstellar craft? Are they interdimensional crafts? So there's all kinds of different theories on this. And that looked interdimensional more than anything else. Yeah, if you take a look, it was really hard to see the circles, Pen Farm Girl, but because it was a black top that was burned just slightly, so they were glowing red a little bit on the outer edges of the circle. I have a big screen TV, so I was able to see it. It's kind of cool. So yeah, actually a good episode, and I'm glad they're not sticking to a set kind of framework to every episode. They're actually kind of mixing it up a little bit. Wasn't that at the end of the second episode? It was the end of the second episode. Thanks, Jojo Graz. Yes, the UFO under the tarps. They kind of blur together now. I'm doing a lot of podcasts, so it does happen. Crop circles even on the tarmac. But very, very interesting episode. I'm interested to see where this is going to take us next. It's the fourth episode, and we have a ship. We have aliens, an alien body at least. Slurmy says the glare on the glass is an issue. Never noticed it before. Yeah, sorry. I know. You can see what I'm looking at on the screen, which is pretty much you guys. I mean, it's what you're looking at, and then also me as well, which God knows no one wants to see that. Jody says, what if they are both interstellar, interdimensional? It could very well be. There's so many different theories out there. Who knows? Who knows what's real, what isn't, what the real answers are. That's what everyone wants to know. I do wear my sunglasses at night, but only with Corey Wolfhart. Yeah, I do know Corey Wolfhart, so yeah, there you go. And for those of you who don't know who that is, you should start watching Future Man, which is a show I cover. So if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button as well. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button. Plenty of you do. I take a look at the statistics on this. Yes, I know. The Pen Farm Girl says, you know everything, Dennis. You just can't tell us. If I did, it would make your mind explode. And honestly, I don't remember. As I've told someone, I think I've forgotten so much more than I've learned over the years. I probably have forgotten a lot more than what I've learned. Dennis is married to 3. to 3 of Corey Wolfhart's was ex-wives and husbands. Yes, like scanners. How would I rate this one? I don't usually do ratings, Jojo Graz, but out of the 4 episodes so far, I like the first one. The first one was actually a good introduction. I really like the second one, to tell you the truth. The third one was a little bit on the bland side. I would say this is in the number 2 spot out of those 4. So I like the second one the best, and then this one is my second one. Even though it had the alien body and the ship running, yeah, I just like the structure of the second one a lot better. It was kind of cool. It was very X-File-ish, I guess you could say. It was a show that I was hoping the X-Files would have been when they brought it back. The show that they did last year with the X-Files. That was what I was kind of hoping they were going with, but they didn't. Yeah, Jody says, after all, time is not linear. It's Jeremy Bearimy. That's right. It is Jeremy Bearimy. It's all Jeremy Bearimy, baby. Slurmy Scott, let's all put positive thoughts out for VB, who is trapped in the polar vortex. Oh no, that's right, she is trapped in the polar vortex. Hopefully she's got a fire going and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting here with a fan going because it's actually in the 70s here. It's supposed to cool down a little bit. Now that's your weather report that I've got going on. But fire down below. There's a cream that might be able to clear that up for you, Fanobi. Especially if you have a burning sensation that's happening down there. Oh yeah, West Coast is lucky on that one. But then again, not the Northern California. They are getting hit by some serious rain this week. I think we're supposed to get a little bit of it too. But yeah, well, my internet connection, it's the house, man. I'm telling you, it really is. It's the house. I wish I had fiber optic cabling. That would be really nice, but I don't. So, electric discharge. So, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. Also, you can follow me on my schedule. My schedule's up on my webpage, suspendedfanimation.com. It's also on Facebook. Take a look for Suspended Fanimation. You'll see that on the Facebook page. And you'll also see me on Twitter, and you'll see me on Instagram as well. I am working on getting onto iTunes and all that kind of stuff as well. I just haven't had any time to sit down and actually do it. That's the whole thing. So, with that said, take a look at the subscribe button up here if you want to subscribe. Take a look at the videos over on this end. I've actually selected out of my video library stuff that actually is going to best fit your likes and interests. So you can take a look at that if you're still on the fence. Leave me comments if you want to leave me comments about stuff. If you don't like what you see or you want to see something else. I'm covering tons of shows right now. I'm covering so Monday nights is The Passage. Tuesday nights, of course, like this, is Project Blue Book. Wednesday nights is Deadly Class. Deadly Class is actually kind of cool. Thursday nights is Gotham. Friday nights is Future Man. Saturday mornings, I do the Saturday Morning Blast Off, which is a news aggregation of genre news of the week. And basically, we just talk about all the genre news that happen, and also anything else genre-wise you want to talk about. And then Sundays is Counterpart. Counterpart being awesome. So, again, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. Take a look at the videos over here. I'm going to let you guys go for the night because I know you're all tired over there on the East Coast. And don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may end up seeing some ball of light following your plane, especially if it's a propeller plane. They can go a lot faster than that.